we've seen him yet. It's gonna be a rough night.
Exactly a week before the anticipated return of Mike Tyson, on Friday, the boxing ring was when he closed his training camp in preparation for the fight week of his match against Jake Paul. Interestingly, Netflix has given boxing fans a rare highlight of Mike Tyson's last day in training camp. You sure would want to know what Iron Mike Tyson's last day in training looked like, as the next time he would be showing off his boxing skills will be at the At&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, on fight night.
Agility is great.
13, 14, breathe.
Conditioning is amazing. Power is unbelievable.
Nice one.
That was the best.
Really, no one is expected to see the video and doubt Mike Tyson ever again. In fact, you could argue that Netflix released the video to make Mike Tyson's naysayers find good reasons to trust him as he heads into the ring next week. Muhammad Ali's manager, whose visit to Mike Tyson's boxing gym coincided with the day Netflix was shooting the video for Tyson's last day in the gym, claimed he also had several fears regarding Mike Tyson's decision to combat a fighter who's 31 years younger than him. However, once he got a view of what he was doing in the gym, he found himself believing again.
You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't lie. I was worried about him traveling here, traveling there. I can sleep now at night.
The video showed the physical, mental, and technological efforts that Tyson exerts to appear in his very best and fittest self come fight night. It informed boxing fans how Mike Tyson's daily training sessions looked like and what he did differently on the last day. With timestamps attached to it, the video began at exactly 11 a.m., just as Tyson had earlier confessed in an interview.
I start at 11.
11 a.m.?
No, yeah, 11 in the morning.
Oh, no.
I start at 11, and I might leave the gym at 5.
Oh, all right. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So 6 hours straight, or is there a lunch break?
Well, it's...
I'm training extremely hard, he said. I start at 11 a.m., and I might leave the gym at 5 p.m. He acknowledged he takes a small break during the day and varies the kinds of workouts he does throughout the 6-hour span. After I finish boxing, I get a massage for an hour, and then I go right into strength and conditioning, he said.
It's a small break after I finish doing my boxing. I get a massage for an hour.
Oh, no.
And then I go back. Then I go right into strength and conditioning.
Are you?
The former undisputed world heavyweight champion made his way into the gym at exactly 11 a.m. The reason for starting late is first to have enough sleep, as he was advised by the doctors. In fact, part of the reasons for his health scare in May was because he wasn't having enough rest.
I begin at 8:57.
Hey, listen, it was written. That's all I know is written, right? Millions of years.
Lack of sleep is associated with many negative health effects, including increased risk of heart disease, depression, weight gain, inflammation, and sickness. Hence, for a person who's 58 and is involved in a very rigorous activity, like training for a boxing match, it was suggested that he gets between 7 and 9 hours of sleep per night for optimal health. There's been no better proof of the effectiveness of his sleeping time than a comment from Mike Tyson's mentor's manager, Muhammad Ali's manager, who had known Tyson since he was 13 for over 45 years and said that this is the best and the strongest he has ever seen Mike Tyson after seeing him on this last day of training.
I've ever seen you.
Yeah?
Yeah, the strongest I've ever. And I know you since you're 13. I think this impressed the shit out of me.
The majority of people who get 7 or 8 hours per night report feeling better rested with improved mood and health. This amount of sleep will ensure the brain has the appropriate time to do what it needs for healthy functioning. This is in contrast to his boxing prime when he would get up before dawn. Well, once the baddest man gets into the gym, he begins with some aerobic exercises like skipping, shadow boxing, push-ups. While running a marathon may not be so possible, he replaces that with short sprints in the gym and runs on the treadmill. Once he was done with these body stretches and aerobic exercises, viewers could see him meditating and practicing deep breathing techniques to aid his focus and let off his anxieties. Breathing exercises and meditation help to not only calm our minds and bodies, but help in reducing stress, letting off negative emotions, cooling oneself down, and sharpening one's concentration skills. Since it was his last day in training, the video showed him trying to envision the fight night going just as perfectly as he had planned it.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 4, 5.
And once that was over, it was time to get into the ring to do some mitt and pad work and also use the speed bag and slip bag. The essence of the slip bag was mainly for his head movement, as his unique peekaboo boxing style requires an insane level of head movement and footwork. From here, the video showed him with his trainer Rafael Cordero as he was hitting the pads and punching jacket on Cordero. This was to work on his power, his speed, and accuracy, as he kept attempting to hit the right places with each punch.
Nice left hook. Up.
Was good for today.
Yeah.
I truly believe.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
And then he did some sparring before taking a break. This was where many viewers began to really believe in Mike Tyson again. May had feared a repeat of Evander Holyfield versus Vitor Belfort, where the MMA legend knocked out the former undisputed world heavyweight and cruiserweight champion in the very first round. The Netflix video then got Tyson more followers after many viewers for the first time saw the intensity of his sparring sessions and how he was quickly dismantling opponents like the good old Das with his speed, power, and technique.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Fuck with me, all right? Let's do this. You did great. We're done. We're gonna do it. You sure? Yes. Trust me. I got a lot in me.
He exemplified his peekaboo boxing style much better than even Isaac Cruz, who Tyson refers to as the Mexican Mike Tyson. One of the most popular boxing styles among boxing fans is the peekaboo boxing style. The style became an instant favorite among fans after they watched Tyson decimate his opponents using the peekaboo.
You need to bend your legs and lean more forward, just straight up. The peekaboo style is known as almost like crab technique in Japanese karate. Your head is down, your hands up, and you jab, you punch it, and you move.
Here is everything you need to know about the peekaboo boxing style. Check out the history of the style, famous fighters who used it, and tips for using it below. The peekaboo boxing stance is a fighting style using boxing, which was made popular by Iron Mike Tyson. It's a fighting style used in boxing, which features a low crouch stance with tight guards against a boxer's head. It leaves a fighter defensively protected while also giving them the potential to land powerful punches. The style is great for shorter, stocky fighters to get in on their opponent and land potential knockout blows. The person credited with coming up with the peekaboo boxing style is the legendary trainer Custamato. He took the basis for the new boxing style from his favorite fighter, Maxie Rosenblum. Maxie was a highly respected defensive fighter who kept a low stance with his hands held high. Unfortunately, many boxing critics during the era thought Rosenblum's style was boring and lacked aggression. Hughes tweaked the style to make it more aggressive while keeping its defensive elements intact. The purpose of the stance was simple: move your head to avoid punches and land powerful counters. Many boxing critics during this time laughed at the style and jokingly called it the peekaboo boxing style.
You need to bend your legs and lean more forward, just straight up. The peekaboo style is known as almost like crab technique in Japanese karate. Your head is down, your hands up, and you jab, you punch it, and you move.
They jokingly called the style peekaboo because the guards looked similar to someone playing peekaboo with a baby. D'Amato soon made these critics eat their words and proved the effectiveness of the peekaboo style. The first time boxing fans saw the true power of the style was Cuse's fighter Floyd Patterson. Floyd was one of the greatest power punchers in the history of boxing who used the peekaboo style.
How are you moving your feet, Mike?
Just go and look.
So are you just moving them back in?
Move side, back in.
Patterson won the heavyweight title twice and cemented his legacy as an all-time great. Many other fighters under D'Amato used the style, which included Jose Torres and Buster Mathis. Decades later, boxing fans would see the true power of the peekaboo boxing style. The person credited with reviving and popularizing the style was the legend Iron Mike Tyson. For almost 2 decades, Mike was the most feared fighter on the planet. using the peekaboo style to evade punches and decimate his opponents. Tyson's success using the peekaboo boxing style made it a popular style among young boxing practitioners. It is now a more widely taught fighting style, which many stocky power punchers use. Peekaboo key principles are built upon the bad intentions concept, which emphasize the D'Amato philosophy. The general idea is that the peekaboo practitioners are counterpunchers, who, contrary to accustomed ways of counterpunching, perceived as constantly backing up and jabbing from the safe distance, move forward, and do it with a lot of aggressiveness by constantly charging at the opponent, provoking him into throwing punches to counter, and subsequently into making mistakes to capitalize on, by creating openings and dominant angles of attack.
Nice one, Mike. Nice one, Mike. Stick rope. Bang, bang, stick rope.
The peekaboo boxing style is effective, but a fighter must dedicate months, even years of training to learn it. Let's go over the main points of this boxing style. The first feature you'll notice about the peekaboo style is the hand placement. In this stance, your guards are held right under your eyes. Holding your hands up like this leaves your chin and nose fully protected. Peekaboo boxing utilizes relaxed hands with the forearms in front of the face and the fist at nose-eye level.
So are you just moving them back in?
Move side, back inside. Let go comes with.
Other unique features include side-to-side head movements, bobbing, weaving, and blindsiding the opponent. A fighter using the peekaboo style is drilled with the stationary dummy and on the bag until the fighter is able to punch by rapid combinations with what D'Amato called bad intentions. The style allows swift neck movements as well as quick duckings and bad returning damage, usually by rising uppercuts or even rising hooks.
This way? Yeah, this way. Whip and power?
That's just listen. You can throw it and stand up.
Oh, so you actually get shorter when you...
After you punch, you go down. Squat.
Another trait that differs the peekaboo style from other boxing stances is the low crouch. In this stance, a fighter has a more exaggerated crouch than traditional stances. The point of the peekaboo's low crouch is to take away potential punching targets. This low stance and high guards can make a boxer feel more protected. Fighters who use the peekaboo stance stand squarer than traditional boxing stances. Both feet are pointed forward, facing the opponent. Peekaboo footwork is not that frequently noted by observers, which usually focus on the upper body movement and striking, but it sets the base for both the effective upper body movement and punching with leverage. The footwork is aimed to close the distance, crowd the opponent, cut off his escape routes, negate his reach advantage, and create dominant angles for attacks simultaneously.
Chin, don't. Just go with Ben. That's it. Ben, punch right.
To be able to slip and counter the opponent's punches, the practitioner should be able to do it from a neutral or near-neutral stance, with his pelvis squared up in parallel against the opponent's pelvis, for it creates more room for the lateral upper body movement side to side with more amplitude, and places conventional boxers in an unfamiliar position relatively to the peekaboo practitioners. The peekaboo boxing stance is defensive while also being offensive. Fighters who use the stance constantly move forward and never backward to give constant pressure. One of the most important features of the peekaboo is the constant head movement. It is a counter-punching style involving a fighter flow with the movement of their opponent's punches.
That's it. Stick rope. What a shot. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Slipping punches in the peekaboo stance gives fighters perfect angles to throw powerful counters. All attacks used in the peekaboo fighting style come from counters. You only attack once you create an opening. Former undisputed champion Lennox Lewis, who recently passed his crown to Alexander Usyk after 25 years, has shared what he thought about Mike Tyson's new training footage. Commenting under Mike Tyson's post, Lennox Lewis said, "That's the Iron Mike Tyson I wanted to see. Jake Paul's done." And it's truly no doubt that Lennox Lewis had anticipated not only a victory for Mike Tyson, but a dramatic victory that would see Jake Paul get knocked out. In an intriguing social media post, Lewis shared a simulation of the fight alongside the caption,
This is
So I hear Mike Tyson will be fighting Jake Paul. Not quite sure how that will go, but it could be something like this. In the clip, Paul and Tyson come face to face in the octagon in the UFC 5 video game. Tyson comes flying out of the traps by landing a booming right hand, which sends Paul crashing to the canvas with his very first punch. Within seconds, Paul collapses on the canvas while Tyson has his hand raised in victory. While that scenario seems highly unlikely, the likes of Joe Rogan have insisted Tyson still has the tools to dismantle Paul. What is very striking is how very much different this is from his youthful days, where he had the strength and tenacity to work out for the whole day and push himself even beyond his limits. The day began with an early morning run. At 4 a.m., Mike would lace up his running shoes and go for a 5-mile jog around Catskill, New York. When he returned from the jog, he would do 10 hard sprints in the backyard, along with 500 push-ups and 500 sit-ups. Mike's first boxing session of the day was around noon. In this workout, he did mitten pad work, the speed bag, and the slip bag. One unique aspect of Mike's training was the emphasis on the slip bag. The slip bag, designed to instill the correct head movement in a fighter, was perfectly suited to Mike's style. After the skill work, Mike would do a ton of sparring. Q's was old school and felt that sparring was the most important thing a fighter could do, so he would have Mike spar the equivalent of an entire fight. However, instead of just going with one guy, they would rotate in fresh partners every couple of rounds. The workout would end with another 500 sit-ups, but he would also add 500 air squats. Getting in calisthenics was an all-day process. After lunch and some relaxation, Mike returns to the gym for the second boxing session. One of the most intense aspects of his training was the volume of the bodyweight exercises. He would do 2,500 sit-ups, 2,000 air squats, 500 push-ups, 500 bench dips, 500 barbell shrugs, and 10 minutes of bridges 6 days a week. Since he already did 500 push-ups, 500 air squats, and 1,000 sit-ups before the 5 p.m. workout, he would use this session to finish up for the day. After dinner, Mike would wrap up the day with some light work on an exercise bike. This last cardio session was lower intensity and was a form of active recovery from the day's training. He would occasionally jump in a hot tub afterward for added relaxation. Mike also made it a point to wind down before bed. He did this by watching old fights or reading old fighting books. People might not recognize how much of a student of boxing he was. You might find this hard to believe, but early in his career, Mike did not lift weights. He built his physique with bodyweight exercises and fighting. Of course, genetics played a significant factor as well. Remember, it was rare for boxers to lift weights when Tyson was coming up. There was a misconception that lifting weights would make you slow and clumsy. Plus, his trainer, Cus D'Amato, was old school in this regard. He didn't think Mike needed much physical training outside of sparring. Mike started lifting weights for the first time in the mid-90s while in prison. By then, strength and conditioning information had become more available. Boxers began to recognize the benefits lifting could have. For example, Evander Holyfield worked with pro bodybuilder Lee Haney during his championship run. Much like his workout routines, Mike's diet is a testament to the power of consistency. It may seem basic, but it can be incredibly effective. Before we get into his daily meal plan, there are some things to remember. For one, Mike was a big dude who trained all day long. Although this seems like a lot of food, it's not when you consider his workload and that he weighed upwards of 220 pounds. He would lose weight following this diet. I also don't want you to get the impression that Mike ate like this year-round. Most of the time, he didn't eat clean. This meal plan is what Mike would follow during a fight camp. When Mike wasn't preparing for a fight, he would have big bowls of cereal for breakfast and ice cream for dessert. Mike was disciplined but loved food. He tended to get fat between fights if he wasn't careful. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.